Welcome, everyone, to Simon Says Episode 2. I'm your host, Simon. And today I have a list of topics that I'm going to read out and then explain. So, first topic is top-down processing controls perception. Brain predicts first, sees second. So, I don't know if you've ever seen like those. There's a tradition of people who paint paintings about legal proceedings in a very specific art form, and sometimes they'll paint whoever's accused in a caricature and makes them look ugly. That's an example of what our brains can see due to top-down processing. If you don't like a person, you actually see them as not as attractive because your brain wants to distance yourself from them. Topic number 2, expectations guide eye movements. You look for what you expect in faces. So that's exactly what I was just talking about. If you expect a person or have a perception of a person to be a certain way, you top-down processing is your prefrontal cortex sends signals to your occipital lobes and your memory circuits, and what you literally see changes. You see a different person. Face processing changes at 100 milliseconds based on priors before a conscious thought. Attractiveness is processed unconsciously, breaks visual suppression faster. So that's, again, the same idea. Attraction, whether or not there's a whole psychology around attractive faces and the idea of symmetry in faces, all that kind of stuff. It's not just symmetry that makes faces attractive, but anyway, point is, when you find someone attractive, you see it faster than your conscious thought is able to. It's an unconscious process. You see it, it breaks through the visual field faster than it's able to be suppressed by top-down processing. You can't not see an attractive face. It's too fast for you to react to. Just for context, 100 milliseconds is like 50 to 100 milliseconds faster than your conscious awareness and reaction time can be. Stereotypes literally warp visual representation. That's what I was just talking about. You see what you believe. Again, that's what I was just talking about. Prefrontal cortex sends signals, and then it changes your perceptions, and you need to work hard to fix those perceptions. That carries on unless you fix it or change it. Caricature versus romantic portrait. Art externalizes top-down distortion. So when you see those artworks of people painted heroically and boldly versus, degraded and ugly and all of these things, they warp their face to look completely ridiculous, out of proportion, that kind of thing. That's a projection of the internal changes that have happened via top-down processing. St. George story as prediction error management. Dragon equals chaos / threat signals. Okay, so now we're going into religious psychology and mythological, perceptual psychology. Okay, so there's not really an easy way to segue this except for in the same way that our brains change our perceptions of people to fit narratives via top-down processing, the stories that we tell each other are also abstractions and representations of narratives we tell ourselves that change our perceptions of the world via top-down processing. St. George's story as prediction error management. It's this idea that symbols are a way of quickly assessing a situation at an unconscious level, because think of how complicated it is to deduce based off of a bunch of information that there's a government conspiracy going on, like an actual one. Let's say you're in a town and there's an actual government conspiracy going on. That's a lot harder to come up with really quickly compared to a simple story like there's a dragon attacking the town and we need to find it. The actual government becomes the dragon later on with investigation, so to speak. Like, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to move on. Symbols hijack sensory motor circuits. Not abstract, they're embodied. See, like when we read about people doing things, what you don't realize is, in order to understand a story about a person doing a thing, we have to know what it's like to do that thing. And so the same brain regions that are used to physically do that thing are activated very slightly in our memory and in our somatosensory parietal cortex, the physical movement area, in order to understand the story. And so these stories are best understood when you imagine physically what it feels like and stuff like that. Pareidolia proves expectation creates sight. Jesus in toast example. I don't understand this one that much, but basically the idea is just the same. Our prior expectations affects what we see. Ambiguous threats default to quote-unquote angry. Brain biases towards safety. This goes to the whole, we have a reptilian brain and it engages in fight or flight in uncertainty. That's basically the gist of that. Psychology explains mechanism of religious experience. N170 predictive processing. So there's a region in the brain, I believe, called N170, and they did tests on it, and it signals more often when faces are shown. And so the thing is, in religious experiences and stuff like that, we also have these caricatures and portrayals and symbolic representations. The thing is, it's not just a representation. We physically see those things due to top-down processing. That's not an argument of their physical reality. It's an argument of their perceptual reality. So when people say that they see things a certain way, they mean what they say. History explains what philosophy explains should. Psychology explains how it feels. My language is slow. Okay. History explains you the actual thing that happened. Philosophy kind of gets you to contemplate it. It has a bunch of exercises for contemplating how things should turn out, and psychology explains how it feels. So that's what we've been talking about this whole time. Real for nervous system equals predicted input. So what your nervous system considers real is what it predicts, and what that prediction turns out to be. It's this top-down processing thing. Collective priors. The St. George and the dragon thing, St. George said, if I defeat this dragon, you must all convert. And they said, you know what, deal. If you can deal with the dragon, we'll do that. And 15,000 baptisms occurred, according to the story. The town updates expectation from chaos to order. Symbol stuff. Modern dragons. Examples are texts, political opponents, notifications. Those are our modern dragons. Dragons, it's the thing that causes it's the thing that causes problems. It's the thing to challenge. Changing priors changes perception. Stop feeding the prediction and the dragon starve. So if you have if you have a prior expectation that's causing you problems, you need to cut it off. You need to stop. Your expectations lead to consequences. If your expectations are warped and not in alignment with reality, your reality is going to keep punishing you for that. Changing priors changes perception, and changing your perception changes how you interact with the world, which changes the current state that you're in. Hope that makes sense. Religion as perception technology edits what your brain expects to see. It's the same idea. It's like a heuristic, and it helps you quickly notice patterns. Savior, person in need, St. George and the dragon. It's a quick perceptual shift. It's a story that we can quickly look at the world through. And yeah, alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like, share with somebody if you think they'll find this interesting. Share it. Share the video. Do it. Click the share button right now.